back to Cindy's library. This is Cindy, and today, well, we are going to wrap up October's reading today. Talk about how I finished out the month. So let's get to it. So I started with Strong Poison, the first Lord Peter mystery with Harriet Vane in it by Dorothy L. Sayers. What can I say? I couldn't resist. Always a good time with Lord Peter Wimsey, and even better when Harriet Vane is around. Not that he deserves her yet, and not that she is ready yet for anything more than friendship, but that's okay. I also read Little Lord Fauntleroy by Frances Hodgson Burnett. No, she moved to the United States at some point, and probably lived other places, but she was born in England. And actually, this was written in the Victorian period, even though I am not using it for one of the prompts. But glad I read it. We have little Seti growing up in New York in a tiny apartment, basically, with his mother. Come to find out, his grandfather is an earl, and his two uncles, both of who were older than his father, who has already died, have recently died, leaving little Seti as Little Lord Fauntleroy. So he and his mother moved to England so he can be properly started on the path to learning how to become an earl. His grandfather, the earl, is quite a grumpy person, but Seti manages to touch his heart anyway. Is Seti a little bit too perfect? Honestly, maybe. Do we care? Not one bit of it. He's adorable, and I loved this. Oscar Wilde. This time I read An Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde. This was the prompt to read a play written in Victorian times. So, An Ideal Husband. Well, I forget the names, but our hero is a prominent person in government known for his moral rectitude. His wife has put him on a pedestal. So, what happens when he proves not to at least have been the paragon of virtue quite that she always imagined? Hijinks ensue. Not quite sure how I feel about this, aside from the fact that it is Oscar Wilde, so of course it's hilarious. Still thinking about it, but I quite enjoyed reading it and can recommend it. I finally finished reading, with all my annotations, Heart of the Matter by President Russell M. Nelson. What 100 years of living have taught me. Yes, indeed. President Nelson, who is the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Well, it was only, I guess it's 2 months ago now, celebrated his 100th birthday. He has had a very long and full life and has a lot of wisdom to share with all of us. Notice that much of these seem to have been largely taken from recent General Conference talks. I am okay with that. Always wonderful to review again all of these. For victober, for the read something in an unusual format prompt, I read Elizabeth and Her German Garden by Elizabeth von Arnem. I forget whether she's English or not, but in any case, she is married to a German living in Germany. And the Elizabeth of this story, she loves her garden. She's absolutely passionate about it. Beautiful descriptions, thoughts about life, all put in a diary format, which is why this counts towards it. And if you're thinking Elizabeth von Arnim is too late to be Victorian, actually, she is not. Believe it or not, this was written at the very end of the Victorian age, so this one at least still counts. Let's see. For the Remember Jenny prompt, I decided to do Wilkie Collins since Jenny loved Wilkie Collins. And so I read The Law and the Lady. So Valeria Woodville, I won't say the courtship was exactly a short one, but she falls in love with Mr. Woodville and they get married, even though her relatives have concerns, even though his mother refuses to acknowledge her. The only thing is, she discovers her husband has a secret. At first, it seems like it could be just a little thing, but the more she discovers, the larger it seems to be, and she is determined, no matter what, to uncover her husband's secret. Which I like how it ended, because secrets, they do have consequences and may not always completely be what you think they are. There's one main character, her husband's best friend. I forget, Miserius Dixon. That is right. He is a character easy to stick in your mind because, unfortunately, he was basically born without legs, although in every other way he is physically great. And no one likes him. But it's not because of his physical disability per se that people don't like him. He has, let's just say he has quite the personality. So, very interesting. Definitely a Wilkie Collins story. Starts out a bit slow, but by about a third of the way through, you understand exactly what is at stake. So, and I like Valeria. She's a great character. Her husband, to do justice to him, is complicated. Doesn't agree with his decisions, but it is complicated, to be fair to him. So, not as good as The Woman in White, probably not even as good as The Moonstone, but still a very fun time. Glad I read it. The group read was A Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. I'm glad I stuck with it and got to the end because the ending is redemptive. But this is not a very happy story for the most part. You have young Dr. George. He goes to London for a vacation visiting his friend. Long story short, he meets a girl. Isabel falls in love, but they're separated. But a year or two later, they re-encounter each other. He's still in love. He proposes. She accepts, but she doesn't love him. And things go on from there. So, I am glad I read it. Will I ever read it again? I'm not sure that I will. And if I ever do want to read it again, I can read the e-version. Can't say I'm sorry I read it, though. And then Oscar Wilde again. Let's see. This Halloween I read The Sphinx Without a Secret and The Model Millionaire. They're both short stories. Sphinx Without a Secret. Guy encounters a friend who tells him all about his long story with a girl he has fallen in love with, who acts like she has some sort of secret. Then the Model Millionaire is about a young man rather down on his luck, but let's just say a good deed one day changes everything. So those two stories really aren't spooky, especially the second one, but still fun. And let us see. Oh yes, I read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which I probably hadn't read since my school days, by Washington Irving. So this is about the little hamlet in post-revolution United States. It's pretty isolated, even though it's not too far from the Hudson. And it is about the legends there, one in particular of a headless horseman and of the school teacher who comes there and falls in love with an extremely prosperous farmer's lovely daughter, who everyone else, including the biggest guy in the area, has also fallen in love with. And what happens one night? Perfect to read on Halloween. Glad I read it then. So, successful victober overall. Still think Little Dorrit and the Three Brides were my favorites for victober. And was able to get through some other things too, which is great. So how was your October? Did you participate in victober? Either way, how was your October reading? I'd love to hear all about it. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.